The Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint GT Veloce 67 is a car that deserves our respect. It's an elegant, agile, refined, and rare vehicle, but is it worth adding to your garage? Let's take it for a drive and find out. The Giulia is simple and graceful. The car is from a simpler time, and it's all about the charm and character. The body is made of steel and aluminum and has a classic shape that blends beauty and sportiness. The grille has the iconic Alfa Romeo badge and the headlights that have a round shape that gives the car a friendly look. The doors have a smooth opening and the rear has a subtle spoiler that improves the aerodynamics and stability. This car is equipped with an optional rear spoiler and riveted wide body kit, making it look much more aggressive. The interior is cozy and elegant, with leather seats, a wood dash, and a wooden steering wheel. The instrument cluster has a speedometer that goes up to 220 kilometers per hour, a tach that goes up to 8,000 RPM, as well as a few gauges to show essential functions such as oil pressure, water temp, and fuel level. There is no radio, but with that engine note, it isn't missed. Speaking of the engine, the Giulia Veloce is lively. It was an upgraded version of the Giulia Sprint GT, which was introduced in 1963 as the coupe variant of the Giulia sedan. The Giulia Sprint GT Veloce had a 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine that delivered 109 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torque. It had a 5-speed manual transmission, rear-wheel drive, and 4-wheel disc brakes, and could accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 10 seconds, and reach a top speed of 118 miles per hour. It also had a distinctive body designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro for Bertone, with a long hood and a shorter rear end and a low roofline. The Giulia GT Sprint Veloce 67 was praised for handling, performance, and style, and was considered one of the best sports cars of its time. It competed with other models such as the Porsche 912, the Triumph GT6, and the BMW 2000 CS, and eventually ended up being replaced by the 1750 GT Veloce in 1968, which had a larger engine and more power. On the road, the Giulia Veloce is a pleasure to drive. It steers like a dream with its light, direct steering and smooth gearbox, and has a responsive throttle. It also brakes like a champ with firm pedal due to its lightweight characteristics. And the engine sounds great as well, with a deep rumble, high pitch, and a pop. The car feels light and nimble and makes its way past modern supercars in the corners. The only downside is the lack of comfort. The Giulia Sprint is loud, rough, and hot. The seats are hard, the ride is harsh, and the cabin is noisy. This is a car for enthusiasts, not for the mass appeal. It is a result of over 10 years of development and shows the evolution of the Alfa Romeo's philosophy and vision. The car's legacy has been able to stand the test of time, even though they've become quite scarce. But let's go ahead and take this thing over to Tokyo and see how it handles our lap. Even though the Giulia Sprint GT Veloce has relatively low performance points, even fully modified, it ended up getting paired up against some heavy hitters like the Bugatti Veyron and the GAC Maverick, and that's with a quarter of their horsepower. Fully built, ours ended up at 277 horsepower and just under 191 foot-pounds of torque. But although these power figures are much less than many of the other vehicles in the game, the weight ended up at 1,878 pounds, and that's mainly due to the simplicity of the car. This low weight allows the car to float through corners and slip past the competition in the bends. The performance points ended up at 619.76, so it's able to qualify for a lot of the early races in the game, although the vehicle has a difficulty in braking 200 miles per hour, and that prevents it from being a good choice for the Tokyo 600. The fuel economy is pretty solid though, and it looks like the car should pull an easy 7 laps on the fuel with our current setup. And the weight is also benefiting the tires. The front tires actually showed no wear by the end of our race, and the rears were only around 5% worn. So a lightweight chassis can go a long way. The Giulia Veloce was released into Gran Turismo 7 on May 25th of 2023, and it rotates in and out of the used car inventory, not Legendary Motors, so it is a little bit on the more on the affordable side. I picked mine up on release day for $180,000, but these prices do fluctuate just like Legendary Motors, so it should be somewhere in that area. This is a fun car to drive, so I do recommend picking one up when you have some cash to burn, but at the time of making this video, it's not part of any of the extra menus, so there's no rush on adding it to your inventory as of yet. We ended up crossing the line at 2 minutes, 13 seconds, .843, which puts it right behind the Alphard Executive Lounge minivan and just in front of the Maserati A6 GCS. This is a car I'll return to just because it is fun to drive, even though it's not anywhere near the top of the list. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.